Hello, this video here is to show you how to get started making objects in a display screen. So the first thing we have to do is make sure we have a display open. So we're going to go to displays and we're going to go to main, because this is a defaulted screen that's made for us to get started. So we're going to double click on the main. Alright, so we're going to open that up, and just a quick note, two things to get started. Just see right here where it says this main, and it should say your program name. So that's a tab here. So as you open up more files or more screens, you'll actually have these tabs open up all the way across through here, depending on how many screens you have open. So when you're having if you have to go back and forth between a screen or something, you'll just be able to click on these tabs right here. And all the way down through there, so you don't have to minimize and then go to open it and maximize and all that stuff. So it makes it pretty easy. So with that being said, if you don't see the tab down here, go up here to workbook mode and make sure that that is checked, because if I uncheck it, then you don't have it. Then you would have to minimize this one and go, and it can get kind of cumbersome. So I would make sure that workbook mode is turned on. One other note is that just notice that you have a minimize, a maximize, and a close. So I just want you to see these are right here, and I also want you to see that right now you can't see the bottom of that. I mean, you can scroll up and down, but you can't see this button that's there. So if I maximize that, you'll actually see that that there comes to where I can see it, which is good. And this is the top of the screen. This right here is pretty much the bottom. It'll go down just a little bit, but pretty much we can see all the buttons on the screen at this point, okay, which is just the shutdown button. So you remember those minimize, maximize, and close that we had up here? Now they're up here. So I just want you to know, do not be messing with these unless you want to close or minimize the window. So if I minimize, it minimizes the entire window. If I do this right here, then it restores down. Then I can maximize back up. If you click that one, it's going to close the software completely, and you will lose everything that you've been working on since the last save. So that's why I just want to forewarn you, don't be playing with these unless you mean to close or minimize the entire application. So this right here will actually minimize that screen or restore it. Okay, so just remember that. So these right here, the little ones underneath, are the ones that you will use to maneuver the screen, and the tabs down here will be so you can select between screens if needed. Okay, so as we get started, one other thing I'll tell you is that in a screen, in the main screen, when you first make an application, you're going to have a shutdown button in there, and they do that because you have to have at least one screen. Well, I guess you don't have to have, but it will try to make you put a shutdown or a go-to configure button somewhere. And the purpose of this is so that when you download this into your HMI, you always have a way of getting back to the settings of the touchscreen. Because if you don't put something in there, there are other ways of getting there, but they're a little harder than just putting a shutdown button in and being able to go and change the settings as needed. Usually you don't have to do that, but you always want to make a way to get to the settings in the screen. So I always try to make sure that you remember to leave a shutdown button or a go to configure button somewhere in your application so you can get there. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go up here and go to objects. And I want to do something real quick. You'll see the objects tab is here. So, but if I go back up here and close and don't have a window open, I don't have a screen open now, you see that it's no longer there. So if you don't see it there, then that means that you don't have a screen or a display selected. So we're going to open that back up. And this right here is the boundary, that dotted line, that is the boundary of the right hand side of the screen, just so you know. So now we've got the objects back up. So now the first one we're going to be talking about today is creating text. So there's nothing big and fancy about it, but there's plenty of applications in our program we're going to be writing and developing where you need to use text. So the first thing we're going to do is click on objects. We're going to go down to drawing. I know it don't sound, like text is under drawing, but that's where it's at. So we're going to go and select text, and now you're going to see your arrow has got the word text under it. So now a lot of people like just clicking and just moving their mouse, but you have to click and hold and drag the left mouse button to whatever size that you want that text box to be. Then you're going to type in something. I'm just going to type in my name, and I'm going to click apply. Now you see that my name comes up. Okay. Now I want you to see that font. Everybody should know what fonts are if you've used any kind of Word or PowerPoint or Microsoft or any of that stuff. You should know what this stuff is. So there's the font. So we can change the font. This is going to change our size. This right here is going to bold it. And I just want you to be aware is that when you bold it, you can see this right here. It does not let you know if it's been bolded or not. So if you're unsure, see the apply button is grayed out. If we click bold again, now it's not grayed out. So now let's click it again. So now we can see that it was bolded already. So sometimes if you ain't for sure, you're going to have to toggle it and see what it does, because it will not show this up here. This right here is not like a preview up here. So just to let you know, some of those things will not change. So if we do italics, see, it didn't change it up here, but it did on the screen. So if we toggle it back, now it's straight. Okay, the next thing is the back color is the color that's behind the letters. Just one thing I need to make you aware of is this says back style. So just so that you know is that because the back style is transparent and the back color is white, it's going to blend in. So when I change this to a solid and click apply, it's still white. But if I change the color, let's just say to yellow, click apply, now that text box that we had made, everything other than the text itself, which is behind the lettering, is yellow. So just make sure that you understand that this back style represents what type of back it's going to be, a solid back or a transparent. So if you go to transparent, you can't see it. If it's white, you can't see it, as long as your background's white. So anyway, so we're going to go back to solid. And now if you didn't like that coloring of the lettering, the fore color is considered the lettering or the colors of the text. So just so that you know, any place that you see that, there's going to be other places that you see text. The same things apply. The back coloring, the fore colors, things of that nature. So we're going to click apply. So now that you see, that's how you change that. So now these are the two tabs that every object has. They're going to have a general and a common tab. So just remember that, because that is very important to remember. Okay, we're going to go to the common tab now. Common tab, this right here is talking about the height and width. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory of the text itself. That's of the text box. So with that being said, what does this 23 represent? Well, here, let me show you. I got to close this window for a moment. But if we go up to view and we're going to go show grid, and you see all these little dots. Well, now let me double click on this again. Now it says here that it's 23 high. Well, 1, 2, you can sit there and see. Now that's the whole text box. So it's 23. Well, it ain't 23 of these dots, because if you counted 23 of these dots, we'd be from here down into here somewhere. So that ain't right. So let me show you what they're looking at. Is that it is based off pixels, but the pixel count is not exactly what you think. So what it means is that between this dot and that dot, or any dots, any two dots, there is 10 pixels horizontal and vertical. So that's how it's laying it out. So just so that you know, so every dot to dot spacing has got 10 pixels in between. Alright, so now that we know that, let me double click on that again, go back to common. Now, so that you know about that, now we're going to change the height. Click OK, or click apply, my bad. We're going to click the width, click apply, and you can see that now our height is going. And if we was to be able to get in there and count exactly how many of those dots it's in between, it should be around 5 dots high and 10 dots wide, because 10 of these large major grid lines, so to speak, times 10 is 100. So we're basically 10 this way and 5 that way. So that there is kind of important. Sometimes people like things, if you're like me, you like things being a certain size or whatnot, and that's just what you like it, so you go ahead and type in what you know you like. Anyways, the next thing is going to be this top and left. Now that says position. So what that means is from this very top left hand corner, from right there, it means from that top, you're going to be from there down 52, and from here 58 over. So that's basically giving you coordinates to where this top corner of this, from the top corner of this, it tells you the position of that. That's the starting point right here, and this is the starting point of the screen, and that's the starting point of the object. So just remember that. So if you have an object and you know exactly where you want it to be, then you just ought to just type that right in, and it's going to go ahead and apply it, and it's going to put it where you want it. So that's sometimes an easier way if you know where you'd like it, but if not, it's kind of I wouldn't sit here and just keep 1, 2 back and forth at a time. That's very cumbersome if you're trying to line things up. There'll be another tool for that there at a later time that I'll show you. One other thing I'll tell you in the text is, or actually any object, do not be changing these names. If you change these names and you double name one by any means, then that object is not going to work. So just letting you know. And I have never seen any reason why you should make this invisible. So I always make sure that it's visible. It should be defaulted visible, but just make sure that it's visible. All right. So I'm going to close that. So anyways, that there is the ways of making text. There's one other thing I'll show you, is that if you was to mess up and didn't like the text, got off and it just was a mess, and you want to start over, you can delete by either right clicking and hitting delete, or you can select on the object you want to delete and go up to edit and click delete. Either way right there will get rid of the object. And if you have multiple objects, I'll show you this. If you want to make copies of what you've got, you can either right click on it, hit copy and paste, or you can click on the object you want to copy, hit Control C and Control V, or you can just make sure that you get it inside the window. You see, it doesn't matter which way you go, as long as you get it inside that ring, it will select everything, but you have to have those completely in the rings, and I'll show you that. So if I have it like that and I make this ring go all the way, it captures the one item all the way but not the other one, it only selects that one. But if I get both of them in it, it selects both. Or you can hit one and hit Control and click the other one, it does the same thing, just so that you know. So I want to delete that one, that's an extra one, get rid of that. And that is it for making text in your HMI screen. So be on the lookout for further videos for the objects, for further objects. I think it's going to be the how to make, I'll be going over the line command, ellipse, polygons, rectangles, and things of that nature. So anyways, be on the lookout for those videos, and thank you.